The ultimate guide to playing Arachne Slippy on a budget. Hello and welcome to the table, and with the Slippy Armory deck just coming out, I think it is the perfect time to talk about a budget guide into getting into Assassins, but more specifically, Slippy. Which, of all the Assassins, I would say he is one of my more favorite. I have not looked at the deck in a long time, but it's always been a very interesting looking deck to me, and in Sage especially, it is looking a lot better than it used to because there are a couple of upgrades that came with this deck, that I think are going to make it quite a bit better. So, before we get into the classic constructed Armory upgrades for the deck, I want to, if you're just getting into the game, Assassins look cool to you, and newsflash, they're expensive, so until you can, be willing to pay a kidney to build an Assassin deck, this is a list I definitely want you to look at. This Sage list. It's pretty cool. So to talk about Slippy himself, or at least the young version, we got a 19 health, which is a bit unfortunate, 4 intellect assassin hero with a very simple line of text, but a very good one. Your first attack with stealth each turn gets go again. Now, where something like Ira is really good, it just guarantees an extra power pretty much every single turn. There is nothing bad with that. That's a really solid, ability. But with Arachne, that's especially good. With this, Slippy hero, that's especially good. You get free go again. And Assassins aren't really well known to be going wide, but this deck can. So you're kind of playing extra mind games with your opponent. You're sending in your first little stealth attack. Your opponent's like, okay, this might have a really good on hit, this might not. Do I want to go all in on this one and guarantee that I can't get attack reaction blown out and that kind of whatnot? Or do I wait and then block the next attack? Or maybe there isn't even going to be a next attack and it's just a bluff. This deck is the ultimate mind game deck. And that's why Assassins are cool. And that's why I like Assassins, but they're expensive. But this is a pretty sweet way to start. Because besides the hero itself, we got some weapons. We got Mark of the Huntsman, a 2-cost, one-handed dagger to attack with. It's got go again. And when it hits a hero, you can choose to destroy this weapon and mark them. And if this is attacking a marked hero, it gets +1 power. So it can come in for 2, it can mark your opponent. That's pretty important. That's really good in this deck. And for those of you just getting into the game and you don't really know what mark is, basically pretend it's like this little emblem or something that you just put on your opponent. It's just like your opponent just has this basically extra title put onto them until you hit them again. If your opponent is marked and you hit them again after they are marked, they are no longer marked. But someone who is marked, basically just pretend that that's like an extra title they have stapled onto their back, and anything that says if your opponent is marked is just going to get you more value. That's simply what mark means. But besides this weapon, we also got Spire's Bite, a 2-cost. It's a dagger that does very similar things. But besides, getting +1 power and being able to mark, potentially, it has Piercing 1, so when it's defended by equipment, it gets +1 power. But on top of that, and more importantly in a lot of situations, when this hits, the next time that they would defend with 1 or more attack actions, this turn, they get -1 defense while defending. And in a format like Sage, where you are basically forced to play a lot of attack actions in order to be able to kill your opponent, this card is going to do some pretty good work. It's going to be really annoying. Your opponent's going to have to either use their equipment in order to deal with this, block with a whole card from hand, or take it, and then it makes it that much easier for you to just do very, very, very dumb things. With this deck, because attack reactions, Assassins, what do you expect? But besides the weapons, we also got a ton of equipment. We got Prey Spotters, 1-block Battle Worn, piece of equipment, Attack reaction, you can pop it, mark the opposing hero. Brand new piece of equipment from the Slippy Armory deck. It's got sick art, absolutely gorgeous art. And on top of that, I mean, it can block and mark the opponent. That is very, very, very good for you. That can be incredibly valuable. If you can't get your opponent marked and you can't really get that train going, this can allow you to at least kind of start it. I don't really know. It's a very good way where if you need your opponent marked in order to get the absolute best advantage off of something possible, you can do it in an attack reaction speed, so it can be a little bit more tricky for your opponent to decide, okay, are they going to mark me? Are they not going to mark me? And that kind of thing. More mind games. But then there's also Stalker Steps, another new piece of assassin equipment. This one being absurdly broken in this deck and pretty much every single assassin deck ever. Because one, it has Arcane Barrier 1. That is sweet. That's always nice. But on top of that, as an attack reaction, you can pop it, give an attack with stealth, go again. It is Assassin's own version of Snapdragon Scalers. And that is really, really important. Because Assassins, again, they can't really go wide. But if you need to go wide, this can be incredibly valuable to you. Because it can be any stealth card. Now, granted, pretty much every stealth card in the game costs 0, so it's not really that important. But still, having the ability to go wide in Assassins can be really big. And it also has Arcane Barrier 1, which just makes it that much better. It's a better Snapdragon Scalers, specifically for Assassins, though. But still, I mean, Assassins, they got a lot going for them. Now, in Sage, maybe not as much, because you don't have some of the really busted cards like Codex of Frailty and Flick Knives and that kind of whatnot, but still, it's a very good card for Assassins to have, and I'm very happy that it is now available for the Slippy deck. But, speaking of Flick Knives, the Silver Age version of Flick Knives, Danger Digits, is up next. A 0-block attack reaction ability using arm piece that can destroy itself at attack reaction speed and basically throw a dagger for 1 damage at your opponent. And if damage is dealt this way, the dagger is hit, and then you destroy the dagger. You basically, because all daggers effectively come in for 1 damage, but so you just throw the dagger, hit your opponent for 1, get its on hit, and then boom, the dagger's destroyed. It's just like, if you need your opponent to not have the ability to block with attack reactions, not be able to block as much with attack actions, flick a little Spider's Bite, something like that. It can be very valuable. Also, it's kind of 1 more guaranteed damage that if your opponent has 1 or 2 life left, can be really, really dangerous for them. So there's that too. But then, of course, there's Garland of Spring. I mean, who doesn't love this card? You can pop it and get a resource. I mean, now granted, a lot of the stuff in this deck costs 0 resources, but if you need 1 more resource on certain turns in order to be able to do some of the stuff, like in order to, you don't have any pitch, you have 2 cards in hand. You play 0 cost thing, stealth card, and you have a 1 cost, attack reaction in your hand, you don't have a resource, sure, you have to do it prior to, the opponent getting to do anything. So your opponent kind of knows more that you have an attack reaction, but you can pop it, have that resource floating, and your opponent's like, what do I want to do here? So it's a bit unfortunate you can't use it at instant speed, but it can be very, very valuable in the right scenario. So there you go. But then getting to the main deck itself, I got a ton of stuff. We got all the stealth cards, and then all the ways to bump the stuff and interact. So getting to the stealth portion of the deck, I mean, let's just go down the list. We got Art of Desire Body. 0 cost, 3 attack, stealth, 3 block, attack action. When it hits, you banish the top card of your opponent's deck. And if it banishes a red card, you draw a card and gain a life. So that can be really valuable. I mean, gaining life is always great, but getting to draw a whole card can be especially nice. And if this is your first attack, and your opponent decides to not block this for whatever reason, you get to draw a card. Maybe that allows you to do a little bit more on your next attack, and on top of that, you gain a life. So that ain't too bad either. So it's a really solid card. But on top of that, there's also Bite, a 0 cost, 3 attack, 3 block stealth attack that when it attacks a hero, you can have a dagger you control deal damage to them. If damage is dealt this way, the dagger is hit and you destroy it. It's very similar to the danger digits that I showed you earlier, except it's stapled onto an attack, which is really sweet. It can always be very useful. If you don't have danger digits anymore, your opponent's like, oh, well, I'm at 1 life. I don't need to worry about, getting a dagger flung at my face anymore, so I don't need to, be as precautionary. I don't know. I'll take the damage. I'm at 2 life. I take the damage. I go down to 1 life. I don't need to worry anymore. Then you play a bite, and you're like, okay, well, now I'm dead. So it's something along those lines. Bite can be useful, effectively, is what I'm saying. It can be a sneaky way to deal extra point damage out of nowhere, or get a little bit more interaction on your opponent, and then, have fun, or whatever. But then there's Bonds of Attraction, another really solid card, and can gain you life, and against decks like Gravy Bones, or, a lot of decks that care about, your graveyard, this card can be very, very valuable. It's a 0 cost, 3 attack, 3 block stealth attack action, and when it hits, you banish the top card of their deck, and a card from their graveyard, your opponent's graveyard. And when this banishes a card, if it has banished another card with the same color, you gain life. So, you're playing against Gravy, let's say. They love their yellows. They love their allies. They have allies in the yard. 2 that are really good. You banish the top card, and it just so happens to be a yellow. Then, you can look at either of those 2 allies, and depending on what they got on board, whatever is just going to be worse for you, just get rid of it forever. If you have another Bonds of Attraction, then who knows? Maybe you just get rid of that other ally too. So Bonds of Attraction, very, very solid card. Then there's also Creep, a new card from the Slippy Armory deck. It is a 0 cost, 3 attack, 3 block stealth attack that when it attacks, says the next attack action card with stealth you play this combat chain gets go again. Basically more shenaniganry. It's like, will I be going super wide this turn? Or am I bluffing? That's the way that this card works. So it's not always as valuable to be going super wide with Arachne, especially in stage. You kind of just want to play a thing and then go over the top with attack actions and kind of play mind games there. But if your opponent goes all in on 1 block, then you can just go wider, and something like this Creep can be incredibly valuable for you and allow you to do that. So yeah, Creep can be good. But then there's Double Trouble. A 0 cost, 3 attack, 3 block stealth attack action that if you've played or activated 2 or more attack reactions as Chain Link, so you could do something like, a Danger Digits at attack reaction speed, a Stalker Steps at attack reaction speed, something along those lines. And boom, that's 1. Then you play 1 simple attack reaction like a Razor's Edge. And all of a sudden, this gets +2 power and an on-hit of getting to banish the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. Now, granted, is it a big deal that you're banishing a card from your opponent's deck? Banishing cards from your opponent's deck? Probably not. But, 5 damage is 5 damage. Or 2 extra damage is 2 extra damage. You can't really complain too much about that. So it's a good card. And, for decks that care about stuff in the graveyard, allowing them to have less cards that would be going in the yard, or they like a card on the top of their deck, who knows. It can be very valuable in certain niche scenarios, but overall, it's just a good stealth attack. Then, besides that, there's Infect. It's the same thing as all the others, 0, 3, attack, 3 block, stealth, but on hit, you get to create a Blood Rot Pox token under your control, which at the end of your opponent's next turn will deal 2 damage to them and destroy its stealth, unless they pay 3 resources. It still destroys itself afterwards, but that's getting a blue out of their hand, or you just deal 2 damage to them. Either way, you're pretty happy. So, Infect, it's pretty solid. Then, besides Infect, we got Mark of the Black Widow and Mark of the Funnel Web, both very similar cards. They're like all the other stealth attacks. Mark of the Black Widow saying, on hit, if the opponent is marked, you banish a card from their hand. Well, they get to choose a card that they banish from their hand, but still, they're getting rid of a card from their hand. That's really good. Whereas with Mark of the Funnel Web, instead of getting rid of a card from their hand, they have to get rid of a card from their arsenal. Now, Mark of the Funnel Web isn't as good because there isn't always something in the arsenal, but if your opponent's been saving a card in that arsenal for a while, you're like, what's going on here? You play this? They're probably going to have to commit a lot of resources to this, or you just say, okay, you blocked for 6, I'm just going to say, go. Or do you just play another stealth attack? Maybe it's another Mark of the Funnel Web. Who knows? Because Arachne, Slip Through the Cracks, or Slippy, or whatever, the ability to go wide, you play this as your first attack, it gets go again. You could do some really dumb mind games with your opponent. But then, this isn't a stealth attack, but I do want to talk about it. Pick Up the Point. It is a 0 cost 3 attack 2 block go again assassin attack action that when it attacks, you can retrieve a dagger from your graveyard. Pay 1 to equip it. So, you have danger digits, you have bite in your deck. Well, having certain daggers like Mark of the Huntsman, Spider's Bite, they can be really useful. Having those stick around and gain more value out of them throughout the course of the game can be really nice. And having an ability to retrieve those daggers with something like Pick Up the Point can be really, really nice. So that's why it's in the deck. But then, I mean, there's a couple of blues. We got a blue Art of the Desire Mind. We already saw what that is. Mark of the Black Widow, we know what that is. There's Reaper's Call 2, which is simply, it's another blue stealth attack. Blocks for 3, pitches for 3, but at instant speed, you can't discard it to mark an opposing hero. So that can be really, really nice. Otherwise, it's a blue block 3, which is what we need in this deck. That's what we care about. But then getting to the interaction and bumping kind of side of the deck, we first got Cut from the Same Cloth. I absolutely love this card. It is so good. It is a 0 cost assassin action with go again. It blocks for 2, unfortunately, but it's got some really good things going for it. First off, saying that target opposing hero reveals their hand, and if an attack reaction is revealed this way, you mark them. Then, your next dagger attack this turn gets +4 power. So essentially, the reason that this is in the deck is you're not always going to be playing against a deck that has an attack reaction in it. But getting that free information on what your opponent has in their hand can be really, really nice, both to help you kind of figure out, okay, what am I attacking with, when am I going to be using attack reactions when, and also you get to know what your opponent's doing next turn. Whereas if they don't really block a ton, and they still have like half of their hand left or something, or maybe even 3 cards, then you have a lot more information as to what they're doing next turn so you can plan ahead. And on top of that, you just get a 4 bump to your dagger. So you get a lot of free information, potential to mark your opponent, and, you know, information. That's always good. I might have said information twice there. I can't remember. But still, Cut from the Same Cloth. It's a nice card. Besides that, I got Orb Weaver Spinneret. This is the only non-reaction way to bump and interact with your opponent at reaction speed, but it is very valuable in my opinion because we have the 2 bites. We have the danger digits. We might not always have to, you know, daggers equipped. Well, this card can be really valuable then, because for 0 resources this reblock, assassin action with Gogan, says equip a Graphene Shillera token. I still don't know how to say that. And your next attack with stealth this turn gets +3 power. So what is this Graphene token? It is a dagger, a very good dagger, that has stealth. So that's really nice. It alone has stealth, which can be really nice off the Slippy, because it says your first attack with stealth each turn gets go again. That includes weapons, if they have stealth. And, oh, this weapon has stealth. So, for 1 resource, this 1 power dagger with stealth can attack. And when the hero is marked, when this attacks a marked hero, it gets go again. So, it's basically a 1 cost way to come in for 1, and, you know, it's got stealth, so you can get extra value off of it. You can get value off of it through cards like Orb Weaver Spinneret. That's a card with stealth. You can come in with that for 1 resource for 4 damage as, you know, a dagger weapon. That's really good. And if it's your first attack of the turn, then boom, Slippy gives it go again for free if your opponent isn't marked. That's really sweet. Or, you know, you can get some other value off of it that we'll get to in a bit. But so there's Razor's Edge. Up next, a simple assassin attack reaction, blocks for 3, and for 0 resources, just gives a 3 power bump to target attack action card with stealth. That's sweet. All of a sudden, you know, your opponent blocked for 4 with this Mark of the Black Widow, blocked for 3 or 4 with this on the Mark of the Black Widow. Alright, let's just bump it by 3 for 0 resources. We don't spend nothing on it. That's really sweet. That's really awesome. It's the only... Yeah, I think it's... Yeah. It's not the only attack reaction that costs 0 resources in the deck, but it's really nice to have something like this that bumps for 3. So, yeah, there you go. But then there's Spike with Blood Rot, a very, very good piece of assassin attack reaction card things. It blocks for 3, costs 1, but it gives target attack action card with stealth, plus 3 power, and an on-hit of getting to create a Blood Rock Pox token under their control. That's really sweet. That's really nice. So, yeah. More damage to your opponent. Some, attack reaction speed plus 3 bumpery. That's really sweet. And on top of that, Stains of Redback. This can sometimes cost 0 resources or sometimes cost 1. It depends, because this blocks for 3, costs 1. Nothing if the defending hero is marked, but it gives target attack with stealth, plus 3 power, and go again. So giving any attack with stealth, plus 3 power, that's really nice. Now, granted, the go again might not matter as much. If your opponent is marked, it won't matter as much. But if it's not marked, if your opponent isn't marked, then, that graphene token from earlier gets a plus 3 power bump and go again. So it's coming in, let's say, you pitch 2 resources, it's coming in for 1 damage, and your opponent blocks, doesn't block, whatever. Now all of a sudden, boom, 3 more power on it, out of nowhere. That can kill your opponent. Having attack reactions that also bump your daggers, really, really nice. Speaking of things that bump daggers, 2 sides to the blade. A 1-cost assassin attack reaction, blocks for 3, says choose one. Target dagger attack gets plus 3 power. Or, target attack action with stealth gets plus 3 power, and when it hits a hero, you mark them. So, having the ability to mark, really sweet. Having the ability to bump your stuff, sweet. Having the ability to bump either a stealth attack or a dagger, especially nice. Because again, if your opponent is not expecting you to have a dagger that you can bump, you just swing in for 1 little pitiful damage with your dagger, and your opponent's like, okay, well, I can't block this because I need to save, damage elsewhere. Or they just block for 3 on it, and your opponent's at 1 life. You play something like this, well, they're dead. They are just dead. So that's really cool. I don't know. Either way, 2 sides to the blade is a really solid attack reaction that I don't see a ton of Sage decks run, for this list specifically, run. So, I don't know. I think it's a valuable attack reaction. And speaking of valuable attack reactions, I got Shred. A 0-cost assassin attack reaction that just shrinks anything defending an assassin attack by 3 defense. That's dumb. Your opponent is just relying on the thing that they're blocking with in order to survive. And all of a sudden, whether it's a dagger, whether it's one of your attacks, actions, doesn't matter. This card just says, nope, 3 less defense on whatever card it is. It could be an action, it can be a defense reaction, anything you want. It's really dumb. But then lastly, I got Knight's Embrace. This is really nice when you're going wide with stuff like, creep and whatnot. Like when you're having a big go wide creep turn, this is a great card to have because, more damage. It's a blue, block 3, attack reaction, costs nothing. Says your attacks with stealth this turn gets plus 1 power. So, you play your first thing with stealth, with go again, it's that creep, you give it a 1k bump with the Knight's Embrace, then you play another thing, like a Mark of the Black Widow, it's coming in for 4, that's a break point, your opponent's just like, oh, that's frustrating. They block, and you play another thing there, it's like, oh, now it's coming in for a break point again. Body, Disdain, Art of Desire, Body. There you play that, that's another break point, and your opponent's like, oh, I don't want to give him a life, more than likely, and a card. That stinks, that they can just arsenal, so I gotta block for 4 again. So it could be really annoying, the Knight's Embrace. So I like it a lot. I think it's a very sweet card. But, getting past that, I got the inventory, which, pretty simple. Against illusionists, basically, you want to have something like Pick to Pieces because it can, not have its damage prevented. It can be really nice, especially against decks like Enigma. It can come in for 4. It can get its damage unpreventability. It's just very good stuff. You have another piece of Arcane Barrier if you need it in Nullrune Hood. You have some more arcane damage preventing ability in Arcane Polarity where you gain life. Or if you've been dealt arcane damage this turn, you gain 4 instead. That's really sweet. But on top of that, if you need some defense, reaction, ability, stuff, whatever, you got Frailty Trap. A 0-cost defense reaction that when it defends, an attack will go again, your opponent creates a Frailty token. You create a Frailty token on your opponent's control, which shrinks all of the stuff from their arsenal, and it shrinks their weapons by 1 power. That can be really nice. Just shrinking the damage down by a little bit, however little bit you can. Really nice. And Frailty Trap, it's just a solid card. But besides that, there's also Blanche. There's a ton of things in the game that care about colors. If your last attack was a blue, if you've pitched a blue this turn, if you played a blue this turn, if you have played a yellow this turn, if you have discarded a yellow this turn. There's so many things that care about color. Pretty much every Uprising set ever. If you played a red this turn. So many things care about colors. Blanche, for 3 resources, 7 damage. Blocks for 2. Says when this hits, cards they own lose all colors until the end of their next turn. When it hits a hero. And it's just it's great. I mean, it's exactly what you need to just shut down so many of those decks. And any of those decks that have something like that, you instantly put 2 copies of this in because it's just an absurdly broken card. So there you go. Is it maybe sometimes slightly worse than the card that I can't remember right now? Basically, the CNC of the game of this format that shuts down the ability of your opponent's heroes. Maybe, but I personally prefer this card more. I think it does a little bit more. And, it's also a breakpoint. That can always matter. But yeah, Blanche, really solid card. But that is, for those of you just wanting to get into Slippy, and you want to, not waste a kidney, not spend a kidney just yet, try out this list. Try out this Sage Slippy list. I think it's very fun. And if you want to, upgrade past this into CC, I don't know what I'm thinking of. You bought the Armory deck, you want to upgrade it a little bit more. Now, if you are transitioning from, Sage Slippy to CC Slippy, I would start off with the Armory deck and upgrade from there as you want. But if you got the Armory deck for Slippy and you want to make further upgrades, let's check out the list that I've come up with. And here we got the budget Slippy Armory deck upgraded list. And I think it is a really, really sweet list. I love it. We got Slippy here, 38 health, 4 intellect, first attack with stealth, each turn gets go again. That's really sweet. Oh, this also includes your opponent's first attack. I did not know that. That can be really unfortunate, but who cares? Who cares? But so we got Slippy here. He's super fun, and similar-ish to the Sage version. We just got more expensive cards in the deck. But speaking of more expensive cards, for weapons, we got Hunter's Clave, a 2-cost dagger weapon to attack with go again. When it hits a hero, you mark him, and it's got piercing 1, so if it's defended by equipment, it gets +1 power. That's really sweet. We love this card. It's an absurdly broken card. It was $50 forever because it just did not get enough printings in Hunted for some reason. I don't know. But Hunter's Clave, you gotta have it in this deck, basically. You care so much about marking in this deck because there's a ton of really good stealth cards that care about marking, so you run this card. But on top of that, we got Spider's Bite to, shrink the defensibility of your opponent's attack actions. That can be really valuable against a ton of decks because I don't know this for sure, but I think there's a lot of decks in Flesh and Blood that care about having attack actions in their deck. I don't know for sure. You're gonna have to check me on that one. But I'm pretty sure there are a lot of decks that do. But so Spider's Bite is really good. But besides that, for the Armory deck, we got pretty much all of the equipment in the Armory deck. We got Stalker Steps that can give go again to your first attack with stealth. Well, it can give go again to an attack with stealth. It has Arcane Barrier. Really good stuff going for it there. We got Prey Spotters, blocks for 1 battle worn, and attack reaction speed, can mark an opposing hero. That's really sweet. We got not Hunter's Clave. We got Inverter's Night Cowl. You got another 1 block battle worn piece of equipment. As an action, you can pop it, and whenever you play an attack action with stealth, it gets you a resource. That's really sweet, especially when you're going wide with stuff like Creep, that when this attacks, gives your next attack action card with stealth go again. So when you're having a go wide turn, this is great. But the one thing that I did change, and I think is very good to change because this piece of equipment is absurd, and it's pretty cheap right now, so I would buy it, is Flick Knives. This card is gorgeous, really broken, and just really, really good. This blocks for 1 Blade Break, and as a once per turn attack reaction, you can just take a dagger you control that isn't on the active chain link, deal a damage to target hero, and if damage is dealt this way, the dagger is hit, and you destroy the dagger. So effectively, you have this little Hunter's Clave lying around. You know, it's not on the active chain link. Your opponent really needs to be marked. You have something like Mark of the Black Widow. You really want them to be marked because you want to banish that card from their hand. Sure, they get to choose, but you want to have them forced to banish your card from their hand. Well, how about, once they've said no blocks, let's take the Flick Knives, let's flick this Hunter's Clave at their face, and boom. For one, your opponent has been dealt 1 more damage, but on top of that, now they've been marked, this has become better, they take 3 more damage, because they did not block this, and they banish a card from their hand now. That's really sweet. And by the way, it doesn't destroy itself after you do that. So you can do that every single turn. It's a really good card, not gonna lie. So yeah, Flick Knives, have it in the deck. It's pretty cheap right now. I would buy it if you're wanting to get into Slippy. But so then besides that, we got the main deck. We just have a suite of stealth attacks. Art of Desire Body, can banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck. If it banishes red, you draw a card and gain life. That's really sweet. Creep can allow you to go wider. You got Double Trouble, can get a little bit bigger depending on how many attack reactions you played and or activated. And it can banish more cards from your opponent's deck. Sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. You got Infect, you know, Blood Rock Pox, getting created under your opponent's control. That's always sweet because it could deal damage or it forces your opponent to get rid of a blue. Either way, we don't care. We love it. Then besides the Infect, we got, you know, Mark of the Black Widow, Mark of the Funnel Web. We know what these cards do. But of all the pieces of, you know, stealth, attack, whatever-y, we've got some Majestics that are especially nice. Like Kiss of Death. This is also a dagger, technically. And when it hits a hero, they lose a life. So it just comes in for 3 stealth. And your opponent, I mean, they'd rather not take 4 damage, right? Or 1 extra damage, right? So they block. But then, this was your first attack. You play another attack with Go Again. Since that had to go again. Well, you can flick it with Flick Knives. And now, that gets dealt 1 damage. You know, this deals 1 damage to them. And because this hit a hero, they lose an additional life. So then they lose 2 life. And this Kiss of Death is really broken and really good. It's really sweet. I would have it in the deck. Any deck that has Flick Knives and is an assassin, I would just run this card because it gets you a lot of extra value and a lot of extra damage. So it's really nice. It's really nice is what I'm trying to say. When you're playing a more aggressive assassin especially, I think the card's really good. But then besides that, we got a couple more things with stealth. Specifically 1, but we have Horrors of the Past. This card is so dumb. This just came out in the Slippy Armory deck. And this is a 0 cost 2 attack with stealth that blocks for 3, pitches for 2 at least. When it attacks, it gets the base abilities of the last attack action card with stealth you control on the combat chain. Well, that's really sweet. So, if you played that, Mark of the Black Widow, as the last attack, okay, well now, this is coming in for 2, and it's Horrors of the Past, so, boom, it has that ability now. But on top of that, you have another thing that's really valuable, Take Up the Mantle. It is a 0 cost, 3 block, 2 pitch, assassin attack reaction. That says target attack action with stealth gets +2 power. But if it's attacking a marked hero, instead gets +3. And you banish an attack action card with stealth from your graveyard, and if you do, the target becomes a copy of the banished card. So I can't remember exactly how this goes because I haven't played, Slippy in a minute, or this combo line. I don't know if you play Mark of the Black Widow and you play Take Up the Mantle on it and you give it abilities of stuff in your graveyard. Oh wait, no, that's not what it is. So you play Mark of the Black Widow. You get the value from that. Then you play Horrors of the Past. And you get the base abilities of Mark of the Black Widow. But on top of that, then you play Take Up the Mantle. Give a +3 bump to Horrors of the Past. And on top of that, you can get any assassin attack action from your opponent or from your yard. Like an Art of Desire body. Banish it. Boom. On top of this, having an on-hit of having your opponent banish a card from their hand, it also now banishes the top card of their deck, and if it's red, boom, you draw a card and gain a life. That's really sweet. So, Horrors of the Past. It's a really broken card. It's a bit confusing, especially because I haven't really played with it much, but this card, really, really nice. Really, really nice. Now there's other, stealth cards. There's Art of Desire Mind, which is the blue version of Art of Desire Body, Mark of the Black Widow blue, and then Reaper's Call blue. It's just a blue block 3 assassin attack action that, at instant speed, you can discard it, mark an opposing hero. It can be valuable sometimes. Otherwise, blue block 3, who cares? It's really good. But there's a couple of more things. There's Pick Up the Point. It comes in for 3 go again. It's not stealth, but when it attacks, you can retrieve your dagger from your yard. You can pay 1 to re-equip it. So if you Flick Knives a Hunter's Glaive, you can get some reusage out of it. You can, equip it again, do more BS-ery with it. That's really sweet. But on top of that, there's all of the attack reactions and ways to bump the stuff in your deck. You got Orb Weaver Spinneret to give a 3k bump to your next attack with stealth. You get to equip a Graphene token. It's a 1-cost dagger token. It can attack for 1, and it's a dagger token. Comes in for 1. Doesn't have go again unless your opponent's marked, but it does have stealth, so that's really sweet. It can get bumped by something like Orb Weaver Spinneret. But besides that, we also got Razor's Edge. We know it. We love it. 3k bump for nothing. Spike with Blood Rot. 3k bump on hit. Get a Blood Rot Pox for 1. That's really sweet. We got Stains if they're at back. Cost 1 or nothing if your opponent's marked. Gives a 3k bump and go again to an attack with stealth. That's really sweet. Get Tarantula Toxin. 0 cost attack reaction. That allows you to either choose 1 or both. Give target dagger attack +3 power. Or target card defending an attack with stealth, -3 defense. So if you're playing that Graphene token, you have that Graphene token, and you attack with it, and your opponent blocks for 3. Well, all of a sudden, you can bump that dagger by 3 and shrink your opponent's block ability of said dagger by 3. So now they would be taking no damage, and now they're taking 7. Well, no, they're taking 4. They're taking 4 damage. So that's really nice. I don't know why I thought 7 there for a minute. But then there's Shred, which basically shrinks anything defending an assassin attack by -3 defense. It's kind of like a Tarantula Toxin ability, so that's really cool. But then besides that, that's the main list. It's just a bunch of, stealth attacks, play, some interacty, really annoying attack reactions, or just have really annoying, assassin attack action on hit, stupidity stapled onto your stuff. Just have a million ways to just annoy your opponent, have ways to buff the things that annoy your opponent, make it more likely for you to do things that annoy your opponent, and, just have an all-around good time. But then besides that, there's also the, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, the inventory, which has Backstab, can't be defended by defense reactions on the chain link, on its own chain link. Blanch, which turns off the colors of your opponent's stuff. It's a 3 for 7. It's not an assassin tech or anything with stealth, but still, it can be a really good on-hit. So that's really nice. There's Bonds of Attraction, which can be really good against decks like Gravy. On-hit banishes the top card of their deck and a card from their graveyard. When it banishes a card, and if it's banished a card with the same color, you gain a life. That's really sweet. You also have Sink Below. Some more, block ability, defend for 4 out of nowhere, or you can sink, get a card. Yeah, it's just really broken and good. And you got some, extra ways to get some Arcane Barrier in with Widowback Abdomen and Widow Veil Respirator. Because, I mean, you always want to keep the Flick Knives. The card's really good, really broken. But that's the list. That is Slippy, the Armory deck upgraded Slippy. If you're just getting into, CC and you want to play Slippy, I would start off with the Armory deck. But if you want to upgrade from there, then try out something along the lines of this list. Because I think it's a really solid list, and it's a really fun list. And, it's Assassin bullcrap that doesn't have the most expensive stuff like Codex of Frailty. Or Command and Conquer, which isn't an Assassin card, but you run in all your Assassin decks, and all that kind of whatnot. But for that aside, hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you all, Slippy enjoyers, or just getting into Flesh and Blood, Slippy enjoyers, have some stuff to look forward to, either with the Sage list that I showed you, or the Armory upgrade Slippy list that I showed you. For that aside, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, it's completely free and credits, and I'll see you all next time for more Flesh and Blood deck tech videos coming soon.